You mentioned the singularity. We need to talk about it briefly.
Sure.
You know, Elon Musk was on the Rogan show recently and had a great time there. Really interesting conversation. But you know, he talked a lot about that concept. And has your thinking changed on it? And for most people that don't understand singularity, how do you explain it to them?
Yeah, sure. The first thing I should say is I continue to be completely optimistic. That doesn't mean that there aren't risks. Technology has always been a double-edged sword. You can use fire to burn or to cook. So it's really up to us how we deploy these tools, no doubt. Singularity is a metaphor. It's a metaphor borrowed from physics to describe what happens when you go through a black hole. The laws of physics, as you know them, they no longer apply. So this is a singularity. There have been singularities in human history. Kevin Kelly says that the emergence of language was a singularity. If you draw a line in the sand of hominids pre-language and hominids post-language, the rich symbolic abstractions made possible by language would be unimaginable to early hominids on the other side of that line. I mean, try explaining Shakespeare and how beautiful a particular passage from Hamlet is to a chimp. I mean, yeah, chimps are amazing. They're superhuman-like. They're super smart. But like, tell them about a Pablo Neruda poem and why it's so exquisite. Can't. And so there's a prediction that we're on our way to a technological singularity akin to a Cambrian explosion of mind. And this is due in part with the fact that technology trends are advancing exponentially versus the way that we think about change, which is linear. Right? So we have this linear intuition, but technology changes exponentially. And what's the difference is that linear change, if you take 30 steps in a linear fashion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do you get to? You get to 30.
Yeah.
But if you take 30 steps that are exponential, where do you get? To 1 billion. And technology is exponential. So yeah, people are like, okay, flying cars, brain-machine interfaces, downloading our consciousness to the machine, maybe in 1,000 years. But they're thinking linearly, not exponentially. Right. Exponentially, the supercomputer in your pocket today, your smartphone, is 1 million times cheaper, 1 million times smaller, and 1,000 times more powerful than what used to be a $60 million supercomputer that was half a building in size 40 years ago. So in 40 years, half a building shrank down to a device in your pocket that is 1 million times cheaper, 1 million times smaller, and 1,000 times more powerful. Okay? So extrapolate from that, exponential trends continuing. In the next 25 years, your smartphone will shrink down to a device that fits in your pocket. It will go in your bodies and brains.
Right.
Reverse engineering is from inside out. So that's happening with AI, artificial intelligence, the creation of non-biological minds, billions of times more powerful than us merging with those tools, because we're going to put our tools inside of ourselves.
We already are merged with our mobile phones.
100%. Right. It's just that we have a skin bag bias. It's what Andy Clark and David Chalmers call it, these cognitive philosophers. The skin bag bias is that we think that we end at the edge of our skin tissue, but we don't. Right? We live inside the condensation of human imagination. We think with our tools. When you write something down, part of your mind is now on the page, and then it's engaging in a feedback loop with the contents of your own mind and allowing you to think different thoughts. We think through our tools. Same with our smartphones. These are extended appendages. These are extended minds already. We are already cyborgs. You put on a pair of glasses to help you read, you are a cyborg. But the idea is that this hybridization, this merger with our tools will deepen. And as the tools give us new capacities, it will evoke or birth new forms of human creativity. Kevin Kelly says how impoverished the world would have been without the technology of the oil painting, or without the technology. Imagine if we didn't have Van Gogh in time for oil painting, or imagine if we didn't have Beethoven, if we didn't have the musical instrument in time for Beethoven. It's this idea that the tool creates new capabilities that we couldn't even imagine. So if we didn't have the technology of oil painting in time for Van Gogh, or the technology of the musical instrument in time for Beethoven, we wouldn't have had the gifts they brought to the world. Right. So as we move in this exponential direction towards artificial intelligence, towards genetic reprogramming, biotechnology, mastering the information processes of biology, transforming the language of life itself and making it an engineering project, in nanotechnology, which will allow us to pattern and program atoms in the world. I mean, essentially reality will become programmable. We'll reprogram our biology, we'll reprogram the physical matter that surrounds us, and we'll have AI that's 1 billion times more powerful than the human brain to deploy to do these things. The three things coming together, biotech, nanotech, and AI, these overlapping exponential revolutions, if you map out where they're heading, it's like staring at the sun. It's like an event horizon, we can't see beyond it. And so what do? We use art and poetry to imagine what that might look like.